we could provide more focused help for job training. And so in early May, I met with Carson Heisey from the Governor's Office on Economic Development, and Nancy McCormick, who's the Vice President of Business Retention for the local EDON group here, the Economic Development Group, and also Todd Colgrove from De La Mare Library. The four of us sat down to talk about how we could extend Carson City's program into Washoe County. And essentially, Carson kind of brokered a grant. He got $10,000. $5,000, so that gave us a total of $15,000. And the original plan was to have two of our staff be certified as trainers, and so the money, the $15,000, would go to pay for their training, to purchase supplies for the classes, to get assessment, to be certified as an assessment center, and also to there was money there for our staff in case they worked overtime. They could charge that time to the grant. Since we got the initial grant, we've modified things somewhat. Originally we were going to try to do 2 cohorts of classes under the grant. Now we're looking at doing one that'll start in late January and go for 18 weeks until just before Memorial Day. We're going to be offering weekly classes every Saturday. And we're hoping to get 10 students to take part. The application process is currently going on, and we're accepting applications until the 8th, until this Friday. 16th. I'm sorry, till the 16th. We also redirected a portion of the grant to subsidize part of the cost of the class. It's $300 per student, and we got permission from EDON and the Governor's Office to redirect some of the $15,000 to pay for half of the class. So we're paying $150 of the $300, and then the students will pay the other $150 out of their own pocket. We are just about ready to order supplies. Is that correct? We have a supply list ready to order, and the first class, I think, is January 23rd. So, did you want me to talk about anything else?
Well, I have a couple of questions, actually, Arnie, that might help facilitate some additional conversation. So one of those questions would be, how many students do you have registered for this first class?
We're going to get 10. We have 6 interested people on the wait list.
Okay. We're hoping to get 10, and we have
6 interested.
So we have 6 so far that have expressed interest.
Okay.
I don't know that we don't have any applications officially yet, but we have an interest from at least 6. And Jennifer Oliver is also here. She's been working with EDON on identifying sources where students might come from, and we've gotten some leads on that. So
I missed that last part. Okay, you guys got to get closer to your mic because we're not hearing you.
A bit of a Chinese fire drill, so pardon me.
Gotcha.
So this is Jennifer Oliver, Development Officer with the Washoe County Library System. So we are purposefully limiting our marketing of this because of the small cohort size. So in having conversations with each
We lost you again, Jennifer.
All of a sudden, I just got a bunch of feedback. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So because of the size of our cohort, we are working, we obviously have an interest list that's been growing since word has gotten out about this organically. And we do have some partner organizations that we've been connected through EDON to help us kind of find some students that would be a great fit for this type of program because of the specialized skill set that is involved. You know, it's not something that we're going to be just doing some broad-based marketing in order to get the right fit.
Okay, so And I see that Sena's come on, so I'm just going to ask you this question, Jennifer, and I'll let Sena kind of respond to it as well, and then anybody else can pop in and ask some questions if you'd like before Sena starts. Are you finding that subsidizing tuition costs is something that you really need to kind of automatically assume you're going to want to do moving forward, at least through the first couple of iterations of this program, until people really start to understand the program more and start to understand the benefits of the program?
This is Jennifer Oliver. I'll respond. We did have a number of conversations back and forth about whether or not we wanted to subsidize all or none. And, you know, as I understand, Carson has funding to provide the full cost scholarship for the students. And we just weren't in a position to offer that. And as we had these conversations with EDON, we felt that initially, at least for this first pilot program, that offering a 50% scholarship at least provides some level of commitment by the participant. And in going forward, we're just going to kind of see how that works out. And obviously, you know, I would love to hear from Sena how it's worked out with them in terms of offering that full scholarship.
Great. Okay, unless anybody has any objections, I think I'll go ahead and have Sena go ahead and start right off the bat, just so that we can kind of get a well-rounded picture of the program from planning to implementation. And then we can come back and ask questions of both Arnie and Sena. So, Sena, you got your mic set up? Are you ready to go? You're breaking up just a little bit, Sena. Can't hear you. Try it again.
No.
Oh, there you go.
Can you hear me now?
There you go.
Okay. I hooked up an external microphone so that it's not picking up noise from my speakers as well.
Awesome. Okay, hit it. Sena, you're on.
Okay. So, how we started this and why we started this and how we even got to where we are today is in June of 2014, we met with the Carson City School District, GoEd, and Weinberg Machining, along with the producers of SolidCAM, which is SolidWorks CNC 3D visualization program. So the whole idea and what we heard from this meeting is we don't have a workforce who we can rely on and essentially who can learn what we need them to learn to be able to take on work. And this is Weinberg Machining at the time not having enough trained and skilled workforce to keep work. They were turning away work. And this is a group that's out of Mound House. And this is not something that we just heard from this particular individual. His name is Sven Klatt. But he also is a teacher at WNC, and he's a teacher at WNC because of this problem. And so he has identified this problem from before we even got a glimpse of what was going on, and that's how he decided he was going to try and work on it. So he teaches SolidWorks to all of his staff on his own time and his staff's own time, as well as teaches up at WNC. So that's really where we got a glimpse of what the problem was. At the time, we didn't really know what a solution was, but we knew that us as a library and us as a technology-centered and focused library were going to be able to help in some way or another. So in looking at the LSTA competitive grant,
we decided that that was something we wanted to address, was workforce development skills, specifically in manufacturing. Now, we then wrote the grant. We talked to MSI, which is the Manufacturing Skills Institute out of Virginia, and saw that their program was a really good fit and one that was already cited by the Nevada Manufacturers Association as something to look at. And so what happened from there is separately, and I do see Emily Howarth on the call as well, and I'll let her add anything in if she would like to. She's director in our partnership up at WNC. She contacted MSI looking at doing their manufacturing technician program around the same time that we did. And MSI helped us kind of get together and go forward with this grant, talking about workforce development in a partnership, not just in the library, but also in our local community college. Emily, is there anything you would like to add? If you have a mic. Yes? No? Okay. I'll just keep going. Can you guys still hear me? It got really quiet. Hello? Okay. Perfect. Okay. So that is what started this development. And we've worked really closely with WNC in what we're doing, including proctoring tests up at WNC to meeting with Washoe County, probably not as much as we would like, but it's just been a really good experience. I'll go ahead and answer that question real quick. We do have, so the 60 students that we can take through our program this year, their costs are subsidized, and it's the $300 for the two certifications, for the MS, which is the Manufacturing Specialist, and then the MT1, which is the Manufacturing Technician 1. The MS includes the first two tests, and the Manufacturing Technician 1, you have to pass all three tests to receive that. So what we've seen, and what we've seen in classes throughout the library, doesn't matter if it's this program or not, that there does need to be some buy-in. And we haven't had too much of a problem with this as we've gone out to get students. We have pretty committed students who are coming in and taking the program, but we have had a couple students who have not followed through and completed testing or completed the program. If they don't test, then MSI has given us the ability to reassign that scholarship. If they do test, we have essentially lost that scholarship. But what we've received from community members, and really some of our board members have contributed to this as well, is the ability to purchase a couple more scholarships to hopefully cover some of that so that we are able to get 60 kids through the program. We've had pretty good success rates so far. Emily has graduated, I think, 1 student so far. If you want to send that in the chat. But we have tested multiple students at WNC, most having their MS and working on their last test. And then at the Carson City Library, we now have 5 graduates and 1 waiting to take the test. And then we'll be starting another program here in February, the beginning of February. Let's see. So in the future, I do also want to talk about that. I'll answer your question, Kathy, in just a moment. That we do feel that that buy-in that I was just talking about is important. Now, Job Connect and Join have both discussed the ability to be able to offer those scholarships for these workforce development programs, since it is under their $500 threshold. But students do have to meet certain criteria to be in those programs. Okay, so in our case, the resources that were used and that we are using are matching funds from our community. We're using an LSTA grant to do this, and we are also using, like, from our community, from the Friends of the Library who matched, as well as the Library Foundation, and getting our computers all set up, to our community providing additional scholarships because they do see the need in this community, and that the need is only going to rise with the increase of TESLA. I mean, TESLA may, students may go through the program and get hired by TESLA, and that is great. But students also may go through the program and get hired here in Carson City because TESLA has poached workers and skilled qualified workers from here in Carson City. So both of those are a win-win in our situation. So I will now answer Kathy's question. The program is generally a 13-week program, though if students have some experience manufacturing, we found that they can go through this program a lot faster. And right now at the library, we're offering it on Sundays for 13 weeks. So it's a full day Sunday for 13 weeks. The last group of students who graduated did it in about 7 or 8 weeks. So that's what's happening at the library. That is what, at first we started with 3 different options. We started with a Friday afternoon that went longer than 13 weeks because it wasn't an 8-hour class. And then we had a Tuesday afternoon that went longer than the 13 weeks because it wasn't an 8-hour class. Those were not very heavily attended, and so we decided not to do those classes in the future and keep to our Sunday classes, because we found that students who were really committed wanted to get through the program quickly and get out in the workforce. So I'll go to Forrest's question real quick. So TESLA has acknowledged the certificate. We really don't want anyone in the workforce right now to say that they require an MT1, because we really don't have a pool in Nevada that is big enough to fulfill all of those positions. If they recommend or put a higher standing on the MT1, that is great. We do have one student who is going through the background process at TESLA currently, who came through the library program. She graduated in October, and in talking to TESLA employees, the background check can take a very long time, especially if you have a potentially sketchy background. They don't want anybody working in that gigafactory who are going to sell away company secrets. And so they are very, very tight about who they let in their facility and who they keep in their facility. In October, in talking with one of the manufacturing technicians that work there, he had said that 80 individuals from the second hiring had already been let go and were no longer working at TESLA. So they have a very high standard, and we do hope that our students meet that standard. I know that Emily does have a student who is currently going through the MT1 program who has already been hired at TESLA and is currently working for TESLA. So our total budget is, so the federal funds was $82,902, and our total project costs were $173,519. And that included many different things, including a, just going to get to the budget real quick here, a part-time STEM professional and SolidWorks learning strategist, because we really have 3 legs to the stool of this Nevada's working capital. It's not just the manufacturing technician certificate. So one of the legs to that stool is the manufacturing technician certificate, which I've been speaking mostly about. The second leg to that stool is our SolidWorks learning and training. Now, SolidWorks is a 3D modeling program that the majority of manufacturers in our community use. Similar software is AutoCAD, And there's a couple other lower grade softwares that individuals can access. But you really have different groups using SolidWorks and AutoCAD, and our community mainly uses SolidWorks. So it's not that a manufacturing technician necessarily is going to be using SolidWorks right out the door, but the SolidWorks leg of this program helps students understand what SolidWorks is, why they need to know 3D spatial reasoning, and the ability to help them understand problems in the code, because the code is what then the CNC machines cut metal or whatever material they're cutting. And if there's problems with what they're cutting, then the manufacturing technicians can identify those problems and either fix those problems or get those problems to the engineers to fix. It makes it a much better quality control environment for parts to be coming out, and if students know SolidWorks, they're more likely to be hired here in Carson City. That's what we've heard from all of our manufacturers, because they all do some type of product development and product manufacturing. So you can do a self-paced program, and I'm going to get a drink of water and then I'll talk about that. So there's two ways for the program to essentially work here in the library. In our training, I am an MT1 trainer, but in our training, what we realized and what we saw happening was there was a need for some of the hands-on activities. It's not that those can't be done remote or self-paced, but it is done together in a class and reviewing for a test together in a class, the preferred way that these students are working. Now, 13 weeks at 5 to 8-hour days here at the library is not a lot of time to review the entire content of the MT1. So the MT1 program allows students to either go self-paced on their own with the online learning portal, which is called Course Park, that MT1 offers. That's also where they take their tests. Or they can pair that online learning portal with labs that are offered here at the library, and those are those 13-week classes. In those 13-week classes, we do not cover what is in the review material online. So they do have to have some ability to be self-paced, to do it on their own, and they can do it from any computer here at the library. They can do it from home, and they can do it with the consultation or review of myself or other MT1 instructor if they don't understand the material. So then going back to the third leg of the stool for our Nevada's Working Capital grant, that is our boilerplate, and it's essentially getting students and our community just interested in STEM learning. Why does it matter to them? That's that last important piece of what we're doing. Part of how we're doing that is we do have a 3D printer here in the library to engage our community and to get them thinking about what they can do and what they can create. I think that I covered a lot of this. If there are any more questions, do put them in the box, or Robbie, feel free to ask me some more if you would like. And
so one of the things, Sena, I want you to touch on is kind of how did you, because I think that this would be really helpful to some of the public libraries who are trying to go about this. It seems like this kind of fell into your lap as far as your relationship with WNC, with Emily and whomever else there, as well as your relationship with some of the manufacturers up in Carson City and in your surrounding area. So what might you recommend for someone who that does not necessarily fall into someone's lap? Are there committees that you would recommend some of these library directors get involved with if they want to bring this to their community? How do you recommend going about that, and what kind of steps would you avoid maybe in the future?
Okay, I'll go ahead and answer Robbie's question, and then I'll go to Kathy. Carson City, this kind of goes back to if any of you participated in the Leadership Institute. This actually goes back to what the school district did in developing its strategic plan and creating it with the whole community in mind, inviting the whole community to the table and having the entire community help solve the problems of our community. And so that is really, I think, what set us up for success in this area. We were invited by the school district to this meeting to have this conversation. Now, it's not that all school districts are going to be so focused. It's not even that all communities are going to have a manufacturing base that might support this. But there are ways that getting involved in your community, and it's just talking to people. It's going and finding out. I mean, all of our manufacturers in Carson City offer tours to people who want to see what's going on. And I think that that is a great way to get involved. In Las Vegas, I mean, I know Faraday Future just came into the picture, and I'm not quite sure where in Las Vegas that is, but that's still, you know, that's going to require a really skilled workforce, even if it's students coming out of high school. And what I've said here in Carson City is, yes, we're graduating students to go to college, but what about those students who almost didn't graduate from high school itself? And this is giving them the opportunity to get into the workforce at a well-paying job with skills that they can build on. So, I mean, community involvement, you just need to know your community and be involved with your community. It's important, and sometimes you're going to have to force your way in. It's not easy. And I'm not going to say that I'm the one that paved the way here in Carson City, because I'm not. Sarah and Tammy did a wonderful job before me getting those relationships built. And it will take time, it will take resources, and you will be tired. But it is very, very rewarding to see somebody graduate from the program who may not have had the best luck in school, who may have almost been homeless, essentially, at a period of time in her life, and then go on to, now she's going through the background checks for Tesla, and she's looking forward to having a really great job. That is where the reward comes from. It's those individuals who then go on to succeed. Now, I'm going to transfer that kind of into Kathy's, and Robbie, do tell me if I didn't answer some of what you were asking, and I will go back to it. But I did get certified to teach. There were 5 of us at the training here in Carson City. There were 2, John and Jonica from Washoe County, myself, and Jim Clipp, who is our part-time STEM and SolidWorks teacher here in the library, and then Larry, who is an instructor at WNC as well. So we were certified to teach the Manufacturing Technician 1. I am not certified to teach SolidWorks, nor do I know SolidWorks enough to teach it. I am technology savvy, and I have taught Photoshop and other classes in the past, but SolidWorks is not something that I would be able to teach. That being said, you can offer SolidWorks in your library system without having a SolidWorks instructor. And the way that you can do that is by having lynda.com. Even if you don't have the full suite of lynda.com, there are some very, very good SolidWorks programs on lynda.com that you can subscribe to outside of a full subscription to Lynda that you can have available in your library or to check out essentially to patrons that they can then, you know, if they have SolidWorks at home or if they are working in a location who has SolidWorks, they can use those online video classes to take the SolidWorks.
Sena, When you were trained to be a trainer, what is it that they trained you on? How tech savvy do you need to be?
Okay, so when I was trained, it's the Manufacturing Technician 1. I went through the exact same training and took the test. So did Emily. All of us took the test, and that's how you become a trainer. So we essentially went through there's a handbook that comes along with the MSI. So you go through all of these different experiments and different items, and I haven't done chemistry since I was in high school. I really wasn't that great at it in high school. To me, it was interesting, but I just wasn't good at it. And that's essentially what they're training you to do, is they're training you to lead these labs. They're training you to help students through problems. The students, unless they've memorized them, aren't going to have formulas on the test. But anyone can find the formulas and help teach somebody how to use those formulas. Khan Academy is a really good example, and some of the MSI's online work directs you to Khan Academy to learn some of these items. So really, you're learning to be a facilitator, but you do go through the same program. It just happens to be a 2.5-day intensive training. Okay, Forrest. So I think you're asking if we ever have some of our partners from WNC teach classes here at Carson City, or the other way around. So far, we haven't gotten to that point, but yes, that is the idea. We have had a couple students from WNC drop in and use SolidWorks and go through SolidWorks, but not necessarily the MT1 program. So, and for that, I'm going to also explain real quick how the MT1 program is working at WNC. They actually go through a series of classes for an entire year, so 2 semesters, and in those 2 semesters, they also learn, outside of their coursework for the class and for that credit, Manufacturing Technician 1 skills that they can then go and take the tests and pass those tests. That being said, we are talking with Emily in having our MT1 students have the ability to use the lab at WNC and vice versa, so that if students here do need more explanation and more time, that we can offer that to them.
Sena, would you say that undertaking this process without having a connection with your academic library, and this may be a no-brainer, but I just wanted explicitly kind of mentioned that without having a partnership or that collaboration with Emily and with WNC, that it would be near impossible for you to make this work in your area?
Yes, but I do want to emphasize that it does not have to be the library. We don't have a partnership with WNC's library. I'm going to admit it right now. We really don't. We have a partnership with Emily and with the CTE program in high school and the automated industrial system at WNC with Emily. And that's how we've made this partnership work.
Okay. So it's not with the library, but you need to at least have some kind of partnership with your community college, some academic level partner. Arnie, I'll let you pipe in here as far as telling me what kind of partnerships you have, whether it's with WNC or UNR, for that academic curriculum portion of it. Yes?
Real quickly while Arnie gets unmuted there. We have a loose partnership with UNR as well. With the De La Mare Library, we do talk to them, consult with them, and they've offered up any help that we may need to proceed. But I also think that you really have to look at who could be your best partner. It doesn't necessarily have to be an academic institution. It might end up being like Northern Nevada Literacy Center. If they're offering certifications, That's not to say that they couldn't offer this type of certification as well and partner with you to do it.
I think Emily makes a good point. The strength of the partnership is the access to resources, and that's makes for a really key issue. Arnie, did you want to add something in there?
Yeah, we're supporting the MT1 piece of the we're supporting one of the stools of one of the legs of the stool that Sena talked about, the MT1 portion. We have not set up a partnership with Truckee Meadows Community College yet.
Speak into your mic, Arnie. We're losing you just a little. Arnie, we can't hear you. Can you repeat that last piece? So again, Arnie, we can't hear you. I don't know if you're far away from your mic, but your mic's not picking your voice up.
Just to tag on to that, I have also had some discussions with the Innovation Center, which has recently opened here in Reno, in ways in which we could partner. They have obviously a wonderful location for the classes. And so at this point, being that this is kind of a pilot and we're testing it out, we're just kind of setting out some feelers to see what partnerships make the most sense for us and where we can meet the demand for the community.
Looks like Forrest is typing in a question. So it's kind of a question posed at Emily. If you're missing the chat box, he's just kind of asking for some hints that might make our pitch more attractive to a proposed academic partner. Oh, great. You know what we'll do is, if you guys will all just respond to the email with your email addresses, I'll put together a list of everybody's specific email addresses so that you guys can start communicating together a little bit more fluently. And then you guys can just really kind of create a little network with each other. And then anybody else who's contacting myself or Daphne with regards to interest in the Workforce Challenge STEM grant or in the interest of making any of these programs available at their libraries, we can you hear me now, Arnie? Is anybody else not hearing me? Okay. Okay, I'm not sure, Arnie, where we've lost, but we will make this available via archive so people can pop back in and listen to what they might have missed. But yeah, let's create a network to where we really discuss. That way, if Daphne and I are here from anybody interested in this, we can put them together with Sena, with Arnie, with Carol, with anybody else planning on doing a program, with Emily, maybe some ideas on how to pitch it, or Emily might know of some areas in Southern Nevada or some colleges in Southern Nevada who are doing this kind of work at their colleges, so that we have folks that are kind of ready-made contacts. So Carol's doing some typing right now to kind of give us an idea of where she is at. I can give a little bit of the information. I was not in the meeting yesterday. Carol is trying for a STEM Workforce Challenge grant out of the OSIT office. Daphne was at the meeting. I'm going to let Carol kind of type in what she's done, and then she can respond via email to folks as well. Is there anything, Sena or Arnie, that you guys would like to add at this point while Carol is typing up her comments? Sena, you might be able to answer that question about whether Tesla uses AutoCAD or SolidWorks.
I'm going to defer to Emily. I'm not sure if I actually know the answer to that, but I don't necessarily know if they use that on their line or not. They're a much larger manufacturer, and so a lot of what line manufacturing workers are doing at that point, I believe, is reading computer screens, making sure things are going correctly, solving problems when they do come up, but not necessarily the tooling and machining piece of it. Emily, correct me if I'm wrong.
Well, it looks like she wrote into the screen that they use both. And Carol has been lucky enough to receive gig internet connection, which they're going to use to teach. In the middle of the night, Sena? Really?
I might not answer in the middle of the night, but you are free to leave a message if you would like. If you're like, oh, I don't know if I should do this. I'm usually up.
Oh, thanks, Emily. So they're less about brand names and more focused on broad-based skills across platforms. Yeah, so a lot of that troubleshooting, kind of problem-solving type of mentalities. Carol brings a really great point.
Their own.
Yeah. Okay, so is there anybody else that has any good questions? Carol brought up a really good point about partnerships being huge. You need to make sure that you have enough community buy-in and support and partnerships to be able to make this kind of endeavor work, because that word of mouth and getting students registered for your courses and signed up for the courses are going to be key. And to do that conversation that people have about what's going on and who's all being partnered up with it is gonna provide you with a lot of resources in getting your program off the ground. Is there anybody else that has any additional questions before we close this out? Again, I want to make sure that I'm going to work to get the archive up to the NSLA YouTube channel. Please respond to my email and let me know that you were in attendance so that I have your emails so that I can make sure you all know that the archive is up, as well as I can create a little network piece for you guys to have conversations.
I did want to go ahead and make a comment just about the OSIT money, because one thing that we found, well, one, the OSIT money cannot expand an existing program, so we don't have access to that money, as well as it does require a 50% match. That does sound pretty large at first, but if you're working and you have those partnerships or start to develop those partnerships within your community, that is where manufacturers can and really, in a way, want to step in, because they want that skilled workforce. And for them to essentially help you deliver that skilled workforce, it's a lot less cost to them.
Forrest, what do you mean by candidates? Oh, so are you concerned that you're going to have too many candidates applying and you're going to need to weed them down? Emily,
so we do.
Sena, we can't hear you.
Have, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So we do have a scholarship application. Basic questions that we've asked. Obviously, we want them, as we've stated in our grant, to live, work, or go to school in Carson City, or live, work, go to school, or volunteer in Carson City. And so I can go ahead and share that with you, Forrest. It's just a Google form that we have them fill out. We have not had overwhelming. We have had a response, and we do have individuals who are interested, but we do not have an overwhelming amount of students that have requested to be in the program, and so that hasn't really been a problem. But I can definitely share that with the group of what we're asking, because we have specific questions for WNC versus Carson City Library.
Great. That's awesome. Maybe when we get all the emails set up, Sena, between you and Emily, you guys can provide us some copies of that so that we can do some rip-off and duplication, and then the whole group has access to that.
Absolutely.
All right. So if there are no more questions, I appreciate all of you coming on. I know, Arnie, you have kind of a plethora of folks sitting around you talking today, and thank you to John and Jonica for becoming trainers. No problems, Emily. We understand technology. Next time I'll be a little bit more explicit and do a call-in so that people can at least call in and talk as well. Aside from that, Happy New Year to everybody. I'll let you all get back to work because I know we're trying to get caught up from the holidays. Thank you so much for coming. I'll make sure that the archives for this are put up as quickly as possible. As well, make sure you respond to my email so I have your email addresses so I can set up a cohort of conversation for this. Thanks again. Thank you to Sena, Arnie, and Carol, and Emily. We really appreciate your input and your experience with this. All right, have a great day, everybody.
Hey, Robbie?
Yes, sir.
Could you make sure you include Jeff Scott in whatever you set up?
Just make sure, Arnie, would you send me an email with everybody that is with you and you want to be included in this conversation?
Okay, we'll do.
Thank you, Arnie. Appreciate it. Have a good day, everybody.